Hey Dance Fam, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Dance Studio Scaled podcast. I'm Jen Dalton, I'm your host, and I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for joining. We are on such a roller coaster ride, right? With our businesses, the industry, with everything. You know, as you probably know, if you've been in my world for a while, I have a mastermind where I work with some really incredible studio owners in a close-knit community where we are literally just building out their studios. And then after that, beyond, we're building out other businesses related to dance, related to the studio. It's an incredible space, but the reality is the roller coaster is up and down. And today I've just jumped off a call with some of the members, and the best thing came out of one of the girls' mouths, and she's one of my OGs. She's been with me for a long time, and she just said, "Everything is just feeling great today. I don't know why, but it is." And I'm like, you know what? I love hearing that because we are so surrounded by the negativity and what's going wrong and I need to fix this and the complaints. So that was really refreshing. And it actually goes well with this week's episode because we talk about the different types of pressure that we feel as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as dance studio owners, as parents, as friends, as family. Like, it's just there is real pressure there. But the idea I had behind this topic was maybe that pressure that you're feeling doesn't actually mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something right. Because I'm not preaching to the choir, but there is a very specific kind of pressure that comes with running a studio. And I know that you know what this is. But it really is something that no one prepares you for. And I think that's more because obviously we all deal with things at different capacity. But I don't think until you're in it, you truly can understand what it means. It's not always loud. It's not always dramatic, but it's just something that is always there. And if you feel that, if you recognize what I'm describing during this episode, it truly is because you've built something that matters, not because you're incapable of handling this pressure. Now, the pressure that we carry is proportional to what you're responsible for, right? And I remember my husband always saying to me, the more people you have, yes, the more money you make, but also the more problems that come with that. And it is so true, right? And what you're responsible for is real. We have lives in our hands. Now, I know we are not surgeons. We are not curing cancer. We're not saving babies. I get that. But we have an impact on children's lives as they grow into being adults. There is if you choose to. I always chose to take that on as a responsibility. And there is pressure in that. There's pressure in knowing that everything sits with you. Even if you've got a team, even when things are running well, you are still the one who is thinking constantly about the numbers, paying the bills, the families, your team, what the future of your business holds, the what ifs. And it doesn't switch off when you leave the studio. It follows you home. In fact, it follows you everywhere. It's a real skill, I think, to be able to switch off completely. So I really try in the lead up to the end of our year, having everything sorted and planned out so that you can genuinely take a couple of good solid weeks off and not have to think and worry about the business. But that took a lot of years for me to get there. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. So right now, if you're listening to this in real time, now is the time. We need to get planning and sorted so that you can have everything in place and done before you leave, close those studio doors at the end of the year and have a solid break. But I also think that this is part of the business that people genuinely don't talk about enough. Because from the outside, it can look like everything's fine. They're seeing you've built something great and she's got it all sorted. She knows exactly what she's doing. But internally, there's a constant level of responsibility that's always sitting in the background. And over time, if we don't learn how to manage that or combat that, it does build. And it's not a weakness. It's just what leadership actually feels like from the inside. Now, layer that with where we are right now. So just the world, everything feels a little uncertain out there. Families are making more considered decisions. The external environment's shifted. Costs are higher. That is the reality. Costs are higher for everyday people. Also, costs are higher for you as the business owner. And that adds a different kind of pressure on top of what you're already carrying. And then add the online world on top of that, which I have spoken about before. Because even if you're not actively looking for it, it is there. You scroll for a few minutes and you see, oh, look what that studio owner's doing. They're doing more, or they're introducing a new offer, or look how big their classes are. They must be growing so fast. They're talking about what's working. And that creates this quiet, low-level pressure. Oh, should I be doing something different? Am I on the wrong track? What am I missing? We start to feel a little bit of imposter syndrome. Maybe you can relate, maybe not. And it's not because anything's actually wrong with your business, but because you're constantly exposed to other people's highlights. Remember, the highlights aren't the full picture. That's what people are putting on, the good times, the smiley photos, the happy, nothing's wrong, nothing ever goes wrong. But we know that's not the reality. But that's what's constantly in our face. And this is where your leadership will really get tested, because it's not in the big moments, it's in those quiet ones. It's when you're deciding, do I just stay in my own lane? Do I keep doing what I'm doing? Or do I react to what I'm seeing? Do I trust what I've built? Or do I start second guessing it? The real work of leadership, and the fact that you're even sitting with those questions, it's not a sign that something is wrong. That's what thoughtful leadership actually looks like from the inside. Because what often happens in this space is not that you make bad decisions, it's that you stop making decisions altogether. Now, I have been in this, it's like a loop. It's like a doom loop where you've got so many decisions to make, it actually gets too hard and then you don't make any decisions. Or maybe you sit on things for longer, or you'll go back and forth. Like you might have a decision between two things, like one or the other, I can't decide. Or maybe it's that you've already decided, but you keep coming back and thinking and second guessing yourself. And even everything then just starts feeling heavier than it needs to. Not because there's more to do, just because nothing feels settled. And that unsettled feeling, it's exhausting in a way that's hard to explain to people outside of business ownership. But here's what I think is really important to recognize. When you are constantly holding all the ideas, all the responsibility, all the pressure without any real outlet for it, that's when it starts to affect how you show up. And now this is going to look different for each of us, but it may be that your energy drops. It may be that your clarity drops. Your decision-making slows. And that's when things start to feel stuck. So even if nothing has actually gone wrong, even if your studio is doing well by every other measure that matters, and so instead of asking, what should I be doing right now? I would love to encourage you to sit with a different question. Is how do I need to lead myself right now? Because this season is not necessarily asking you to do more. It's asking you to hold firm your position. So staying clear on your direction and not getting pulled into everything that's happening around you. Because it is starting to happen. It's all happening at the moment, like as we're nearing the end of the year. And this is a real skill. And it's one of the most important ones that you can build as a leader. So if I was to give you anything practical from this episode, it really wouldn't be a long list. It would be this. Be really honest about how much external noise you're taking in right now. Notice when you start second guessing things that you were previously clear on, because that is often a sign that you're letting too much external noise in. And give yourself space to think without input, even just 10 minutes without your phone, without go for a walk without a podcast in your ear, or go for a drive without the radio on, without anything constantly coming at you. And that's where the clarity will start to come back. not from consuming more, but from creating a little more stillness. And if you've listened to my last couple of episodes, I've talked about this a little bit, the idea of taking yourself away, whether it's over a couple of nights or whether it's just a couple of hours at a cafe. That is where you are going to allow the space for the quiet, for the stillness, to then be able to bring back the creative. And I also want to say something else. Just because things might be feeling heavier at the moment, it doesn't mean you're off track. It doesn't mean something is wrong, and it doesn't mean that you need to change everything. Here's what I want you to hold on to. The clarity that you build before this season, it's still there. The work that you have previously done, it's still there. The business that you've built, it's still yours. You haven't lost your footing. You're just in a season that's asking more of you. And there's a big difference between those things. Sometimes the pressure that you're feeling is simply the weight of how much you care, how much better you want to be, how much more you want to give. And that is worth something. So instead of trying to remove the pressure completely, which honestly isn't realistic, the goal is to become someone who can just hold it better. Do it more calmly. Do it more clearly, do it with more certainty. And I genuinely believe that most studio owners listening right now are doing far better than they think they are. You just can't always see it clearly when you're on the inside. So take a moment today, step back from the noise, come back to what you already know is right for your studio. You don't need to chase everything. You just need to lead well where you are right now. Now, I really hope that you have been able to take something away from it. I'm feeling all these episodes that I've just been putting out over the past couple of weeks, they're really coming from my heart, and they're coming from the conversations that I'm having, because they're real. This is the reality of what it is to be a successful dance studio owner right now. And if you want support in doing that, if you feel the calling for deeper conversations, for clearer strategy, and a space where you don't have to figure it out alone, then you need to reach out. So there are a couple of spaces in the mastermind that I'm opening at the moment. And if this is something that's really resonating with you, you're feeling called to have a bit more of a conversation about it, please reach out. You can just send me a DM on Instagram, which is just _JenDalton_, and we can have the conversation. It makes a difference with how you process your capacity of what you can take on and how you can continue to grow in this environment that is filled with external pressure. It's filled with self-pressure. But together, we can do it and we can get through it unscathed. We get through, it's all about sustainability and about scaling. All right, fam, I hope you have the most fabulous day, and I look forward to catching you next week.